over 108 years old. And you have people who bought the church and want to make an 11 plus square foot home with rooftop parking to look down on us minions in Venice. And I wear this shirt and I wear it with pride because of the fact that we are the last community along the coast with people of color. And we're standing up and we're going to show people we have not gone. You're not going to tear down our community. You're not going to tear down our oldest church to make a mansion. There's places where mansions are allowed. Venice ain't one of them.
Maybe we should show these
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll get
pictures of our ancestors here.
But I think if we can give like a brief, quick timeline or like a rough situation.
I would
What's
like
been
to
going
give a brief timeline. Back in the 70s, when we lived here cohesively together, we fed people, we clothed people, because all the people came to this church, and that's what was taught. You feed, love, and care for those who are unhoused. You don't create criminals out of them. So these homeless people, before there was street cleaning in Venice, these people, the unhoused people, would clean the street. The older people would clean the street. Then, once they saw us so cohesively together, they decided they wanted it. So they started an art walk. An art walk. And I don't have nothing against the Venice Family Clinic, not at all. But that art walk is what opened up our precious treasure here to everyone. Our beach was created by the unhoused. Our beach was created by the people of color. Our beach was created to be the #1 entertainment district in the world. I don't even think Disneyland beats us out. They flocked here to see the true artists of Venice who did work that is memorable. Come the 80s, woo, they started pouring in the cocaine, dissipated the families completely, tore up generation upon generation upon generation of people. Then, here comes LAPD with the gang enhancement. Who created the gang enhancement? I believe that it was all started by the LAPD. Because we were living here cohesively. We never had a problem with one another. We never warred with each other until the dope gang came in. And then all of a sudden, our people started turning up dead. Come the 90s, my friend Lydia, come on, step over here. We fought against the proactive code enforcement. Yep, that came through Venice talking about blight. And Lydia, she can speak on that. We fought that program. Mayor Hahn did what?
Yeah, he fought us tooth and nail, and you can't have an elder or someone on disability on a fixed income fix a broken window backside of the alley and find them and find them and find them until there's a lien against their house and they're about to be unhoused, when all they needed was a hand up and someone to fix the window. It was never about the fines, and it was for them, it was about the money. And for them, the city, the mayor, it was about taking our senior citizens' homes and the homes of disabled and people on fixed incomes. And what happened, Laddie?
And we fought, and we fought. We went down to city council. We got a bus. We filled it with elders in wheelchairs, on canes, all these people that they were trying to force out by their proactive code enforcement. Within a week, we had a victory. We had a personal letter from Mayor James Hahn that it would never come back to Oakwood. But it came back to Oakwood just under a different name called, and I'm trying to remember because I don't remember all the acronyms.
Was that PACE, or was it not PACE or PATH?
PATH. It was PATH. So it came back under a different name. And who was leading the force up and down the street? It wasn't the people who were supposed to. It was LAPD. Full suit, blue suit, walking down the street. That made people fear. So they started selling their property. Boom, 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 boom. The vultures got in because LAPD came through and made sure that people were going to be afraid. Because any person of color, they're afraid of LAPD. And we're still fighting that today. with the NFL putting their knee down on the ground. Therefore, here goes our church being sold illegally. Never a sign was out to let the community know the church was for sale. Nothing. Sold. The community never knew about it. The original parishioners never knew about it. They used homeless people who they were feeding. And of course their belly said, I better vote for this because I want to get my next meal. So therefore, there goes your 49-6 vote. VNC, last Tuesday, unanimously voted for the church to be in adaptive reuse. We have to watch these political words they use, adaptive reuse. I have my qualms about what it means. What do you think?
It means whatever they want it to mean, because at the moment, right now, this case hasn't been solved and there's no decision rendered from the judge, and the case is hush-hush. There's a gag order on someone sharing the truth. And how can the VNC vote on something that hasn't been decided by the court of law, and it's leaning and mostly towards truth, which is fraud? So there's an opportunity here to make right for the community. There's an opportunity to put the money back
into the church
and buy it back.
Buy it back.
Buy it back for the people. Make it a community friendship, real friendship. And I have a serious definition about that. And
okay.
You do.
I do too.
Okay, we all do. However, it can't be just a word to gloss over the harm caused by removing the congregation. Can you please tell us about this elder who's suffering?
Miss Jackson. You see her every morning, early afternoon on Broadway, in her 90s. This is where she grew up. This is where she was until she was kicked out of this church. Anybody can stop and ask her about her story. She's always out there sweeping the street because she'll tell you, I have nowhere to go. My house of worship was sold from underneath me. She's in her 90s, last elder that was living that can attest to what happened to her church. And the VNC, they say they want what's right for the community. I have any project, I've never seen a project come before LUPC at Land Use and Planning or the Venice Neighborhood Council that they didn't like.
It's denied. They haven't denied shit.
They never deny a project. If they do, if you repurpose it and bring it back, I. This board does not represent Venice. It does not represent our struggle. Does not represent what we feel about this community. This community is sacred to us. This was the only place people of color could live and buy, and they did. And they worked tooth and nail to keep it. And now with all their fancy fines and calling this building inspector and calling this person and calling them, as Lydia stated, these elders, they can't afford it. They're on fixed incomes. So of course they sell. Because they're being forced out.
Bullied.
Economically bullied.
Bullied out.
Exactly.
You look at these pictures, you will see a lot of the people that helped build Venice and create it. It's not all, as I was told, created truth. It is truth. It needs to speak more to truth. Truth needs to be told in Venice. It wasn't just created, it was dreamt about. And all these people in these pictures, that's what they did. Mr. Arthur Reese was baptized in the church when it was across the street. This gentleman right here was baptized when it was across the street. There is an original picture of the church. Where is it?
Right there.
There it is. 1911.
That's the one I posted last night, I think.
1911. So please know that this is not something that people of color are making up. This is truth. And the truth needs to be heard.
I hear you're starting a race war.
I hear I'm
that's right,
starting a race war. Note was left on my doorstep that I'm creating a race war. I'm creating truth. Truth is, we helped build this community. Our parents suffered. They worked at POP. They worked at the boat going out to let the rich people gamble out on the boats. They worked at POP in Santa Monica. The only beach they could go to was Spook Beach, not Inkwell Beach, but Spook Beach. That's what it was called, because it was a tiny section that only they could go to. These people were allowed to go to the Venice Beach because they worked for Mr. Abbott Kinney. And there they are there. They worked for it. So of course they were allowed to go to the beach, because you had to have somewhere and keep your health happy. But the rest of my mother and her generation could only go to Spook Beach, which is now called Inkwell Beach. Google it and you will see it. Also, up there is a picture of the Ku Klux Klan meeting in Venice. That was real when people came to Venice.
We have a post about that too.
Yeah. Crosses were burned. People stayed because they had already bought into their property.
What did your family say? There was seeing people walking down the street with a shotgun. Open shotgun. Was not uncommon. Once it started to get dark,
You better run.
Once the sun was about to sink.
And we could not cross, which was, now it's called Abbott Kinney. It was called West Washington Boulevard. We couldn't cross Rose, we couldn't cross Lincoln, and we couldn't cross California. Therefore, we created our own community in Venice.
We who, Laddie?
African American and Latino. We created our own community inside of Oakwood. Those are all the businesses that were here in Oakwood. And thanks for the memories.
What reprisals would happen if you crossed?
You'd be right. The police would take you, pick you up, take you to the other side of Venice, way over where the borderline is. You'd be let out and told, run, darky, run. And you better hope they don't catch you. So why do we stand up and want our community to be saved? Because we went through hell and high water to be here.
And perhaps John Trudell said it best, that our existence is our resistance, and we remind them, our presence as people of color, remind them of the crimes they committed against us, and they don't like to be reminded.
Crimes against humanity, while they ride around and stare and look at us like we don't belong. We should be staring at them and asking them, do you appreciate what we have allowed you to come in? It's enough for everybody. Just don't try to take everything about our culture that is special. And this church, 685, is special.
Helping Hand program.
Yep. I remember that program. We helped people down here. We never turned them away.
Yeah. What's up, Marcos? How you feel about this? Come from a youth that grew up around here.
Thank you for coming back.
I'm just taking it in.
Yeah.
Showing my support.
All right, get down in the get down, Miguel. I'm sorry, go ahead.
How about Beth? Anybody have any words that they want to, any thoughts just regarding in general, or want to share? Or
The day I rode by here a few weeks ago, it broke my heart. I never went to the church. It broke my heart. It's hard. You know, I'm not from here, but I appreciate the Venice, the love I got from Venice, and it hurts me terribly what I'm watching. It hurts me, and I have no power. The only power any of us have, though, is to come out here and participate in helping bring this to everybody's awareness. Do not close your eyes. It's happening. And if you don't stop it now, you're next. You got to quit believing that for some reason, oh, it doesn't affect me. It does affect you. And if you don't believe it now, you will believe it in a short time. Please come support this. Please stand up against the VMC. Please. This is not right.
thanks, Beth.
Please write your letters of opposition of this church being turned into 11,000 plus square feet for a single family dwelling to juliet@lacity.org. Oppose this 108-year-old church being turned into a single family dwelling for people to live. They have places where mansions can be built. This Venice is not one of them. Please help us. Stand up. They came for me, and they came for my neighbor. I turned my back. They came for my neighbor across the street. I turned my back. They came for my neighbor up the street. I turned my back. When they came for me, there was no more back to be turned. Wake up, Venice. Wake up.
And you can get the information to help out on the SaveVenice.me. That's the website, and also Save Venice on the Facebook page. Type in Save Venice.
See if he wants to.
Dave Bush.
Do you want to say something?
You got any words to say, or just or any thoughts, or just declarations, or anything?
This is the coastal zone. A church is a public accommodation. This church served working class people. It was a working class accommodation, and it's the mandate of the coastal zone to protect equal access to the coastal zone for all classes of people. This is another example where the Coastal Commission needs to step in and say, you cannot continue to take down the working class people's churches, the working class visitors' snow cone stands, the working class visitors' hamburger stands and laundromats in Venice, and not be massively violating the Coastal Act. This really is a time, it's long past time for the California Coastal Commission to step into the coastal zone of Venice and recognize that equal access means equal access to public accommodations. There should be a lawsuit. The state's attorney general, if the Coastal Commission doesn't act, the state's attorney general should look into possibly filing charges against the coastal commissioners for refusal to act.
Right on. Sure, yeah, good stuff. What's up, Yvonne? You want to say anything over here? I got Laddie going on over here.
It's a sad day when we see our church that's been here for over 100 years, that the people, the families that have been here for that long are here. They're still here. They are asking for support from the powers that be. We need your support in keeping our church here. We've lost way too many churches here. When you lose the churches, you lose, first of all, we started to lose the places that we shop, the places that we go eat, and now our churches. So what is that doing to our community? It's tearing our community apart. And we're asking you to support us, to support the people that have been here. We like our multicultural community. We like to have people of different socioeconomic backgrounds. But when our churches get taken away, where do we go worship? There's nowhere to go worship. And just because the people that had it here, that were here before, that were supposed to be doing right by the people, they chose to sell without getting the proper, going through the proper channels. It's time for us to really reconsider, what are we doing here? What are we doing? What's important? Is it money? Can you just buy a whole community? Should someone just come and buy all of Venice? Because we know that kind of money is here. They could buy this whole place. Is Venice for sale? Is Los Angeles all for sale? Do the people matter? Does anyone matter anymore other than money? It's really time for us to reconsider, what are we doing? Why are we doing what we're doing? And to privatize public spaces, it's unconscionable. There are still people here that have been here for a long time and that want to worship here. We shouldn't have to go 50 miles, 40 miles, 20 miles to worship. We should be able to worship in our own community. So I hope that the VNC and the powers that be heed to our request to keep our church here. This is a historical church.
And then Bonin too, but yeah.
Make good on his word.
Yeah, didn't Bonin
Make good
promise?
on his word. He promised us he would look into it, and then he also asked that it be put off until the litigation was over. The litigation is still going on about this church. The young lady was here this morning telling us they're still in court at 111 North Hill Street. They're still in court over this church. It was sold illegally. The 49 members who voted against the 6 members were homeless people that were residing in this church. So that's going to open up a whole new bag of worms because people were living here. Not only in here, they were living in mobile homes in the parking lot. This church has always been here. My grandfather, Henry Williams, brought Reverend E.L. Holmes here out of Texarkana, Arkansas, to be the pastor of the church. So there is a lot going on history-wise at this church that needs to be saved. This church needs to be kept, as Yvonne said. This was our place of worship. Turn around and look at it, boarded up, plywood over the windows, chains up around the church. Yeah, surveillance cameras. This is not what I grew up in. This is not what Yvonne grew up in. This is not what Kamichi Keeley grew up in. This is not what our dear sweet sister Lydia came. These churches doors were open to unhoused, to people who didn't have, for people who were down on their luck. They'd pay rent for people. People would pay rent for other people to keep their places. This is a saddening sight to see this church closed up and boarded up because it was sold by a charlatan, Horace Allen, who should be ashamed of himself.
And who set up the deal?
That's what we would like to know.
It took 3 years to set up the deal, to affront the fake documents.
Pull up the VNC records
And it's
of the meeting last Tuesday.
yeah.
The realtor came to the meeting and said it was not done illegally. Then why is there a court case if it wasn't done illegally? A court case has been going on since August if it wasn't done illegally. It was done illegally. There's a little old woman, as I repeated before, named Miss Jackson on Broadway, not in her 90s. She was a parishioner here. She's lost because she doesn't have her church where she could just walk around the corner and come to worship. This is a travesty in this community. They've already done it to 2 churches in Venice. Second community, they sold without the public knowing. And the other church on Sunset and 7th was sold the same exact way. We in the community, we don't want this. We have to stand up for this church because we failed to stand up for the other churches. This church created 1911. There's a photograph right on the porch up there. 1911, and it was across the street. They kept that line. They needed a bigger place, so they put it on this side of the street. Doesn't matter what side of the street it's on, as some of the VNC members have posted on our SaveVenice.me. It was all bought with blood, sweat, and tears. My grandfather and his 2 sons poured the cement and the foundation for this church. It was all done on the backs of people who cared about their community. We must save this church for our community. Help us, Mike Bonin. We
Keep your
need your
word.
help. Miss Galanter started it. There's a sign of dedication on the pole over there. Right there, it's sign of dedication on the pole. Please go look at it. To Pastor E.L. Holmes. You can see it right there. Miss Galanter started that. 3 months later. So, our history, by any means necessary, our history is here.
Still here.
And what about you mentioned about the 3-lot ties only in Oakwood or something?
3-lot ties. Can you talk? 3-lot ties. We're the only community. This little 1-by-1 square space. We're the only community that has 3-lot ties. No other community has 3-lot ties. We were thrown to the wolves 20 years ago.
What does
But
that
it's
mean,
take-
a 3-lot tie?
That this is a 3-lot tie.
It means that the developer can get
Can-
away with combining 3 lots?
Yes.
People are comparing a 3-lot tie like a church to build what they want to for their McMansion, for their big ugly box. You want to talk about blight? That's blight right there.
But we're the only community in the local
Oakwood,
coastal
Oakwood area,
plan, Oakwood area,
Venice area.
that has the 3-lot ties. We were the sacrificial lambs.
So the oceanfront walker doesn't have that, right?
Nope.
Nope.
Neither does
Millwood
the
area?
street, the
Millwood.
Millwood. Neither does the walk
North
streets.
Venice,
North Venice, Penmar. Nobody.
Oxford Triangle.
Nobody. Just Oakwood.
So it's all been the planning for a while, huh?
Yep.
Been in the plan for a while because this area from California to Rose to Lincoln to the beach was all people of color. All people of color.
Isn't it interesting that none of these developments, what do they call it? Adaptive reuse?
Adaptive reuse.
Is ever done for temples?
What about
Mosques or other houses of worship. It happens to be the long-standing,
Community space.
historical relevance of the story of Venice, but they don't see it. It's perverse to look at something so amazing and want to hear the stories about it, but somebody else can walk up here and say, I want to knock out the guts in this. I want to buy this. I want to live in it.
And then I want to expand it. Don't forget that.
Oh, yeah.
And then I want to put rooftop parking on so I can drive.
And I want it
up.
approved.
Yeah. And they got it approved by our VNC.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly.
Well, not my VNC.
Okay,
No,
Nancy.
no.
So what we're going to ask is them to reconsider, to pull back, to repeal their vote, take
As
a
a
second
start.
look at it,
As a-
and we're gonna. That's what we're gonna do. So it's gonna take a whole lot of us.
No, Trisha King,
Yeah.
head of city planning, could do that. She was already emailed that information last Monday by myself. Can you please wait for the court case to be solved? And she didn't do it. She didn't want to do it. She didn't do it. She said she asked the ZA, the zoning administrating here officer, to not make a ruling on it, but she allowed them to go, I shouldn't say them, VNC to vote for it. So it was not,
They could have postponed it.
Yeah.
They could have continued it.
they could have continued.
Yeah.
I think it's important to hold people accountable. You know, whose idea was it to? They found out like a people of color church, and they decided like, you know, let's get rid of it. Whose idea was that? Who sold the property? You know, I think people like that should be held accountable. Like, who were they? You know.
I think the
All the hands in
broker, the realtor, should be held accountable. The escrow
Targeted,
company
yeah.
should be held accountable. These people need to be held accountable and fined for selling.
And the family should have their money back.
These people are
It's not for sale. The church is not for sale.
These and whoever works with them, the VNC council, like these people are targeting churches. Like they're probably targeting other churches too.
They are First Friendship Baptist Church.
So they're
over
targeting
on
community
Broadway.
churches. You know, they should be held
When
accountable.
you get rid of places where people worship, you can almost rest assured, if they're loyal goers, they're going to move because they have no place else here that means anything to them, not even their homes.
And plus, Laddie, it also makes them sick.
Yeah.
It
will-
as makes them spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, and mentally sick because this is a space where they see their friends and relatives there as they worship, and let alone after. You think about all the baptisms, the
Weddings,
the
funerals.
weddings, all of it, and then
Repasses.
repasses, and people finding their truth to their heart of who they really are from addiction and any kind of drinking problems. These doors were always open.
Always
I've
open.
never seen them closed. Never seen them closed.
It wasn't an abandoned space, so you know
Thank
these people are, you know, it kind of speaks for, you know, they're targeting functioning communities, and they're dismantling them and destroying them.
Thank you.
You.
So it kind of speaks for the rest of Venice, you know?
Right.
It's targeted. We're targeted.
So-
We were
so-
thrown to the wolves.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you very
much.
much. Bless you.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry about this. It's so
It's not over yet.
It's no.
No, we're
no.
far
Yeah.
from.
Yeah,
We're
that's
fine.
great.
Far from.
That's the whole thing about it. As long as people are willing to stick their necks out and,
I am.
and do what it takes,
Let me
Yeah.
tell you something.
then there ain't no way
Let me
Right.
tell you
things that
something.
they're planning can happen.
I've been through the war. They've kicked my door in 3 times, taken my kids, my grandkids, all because I keep fighting.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know how they crush.
Yeah.
They try and crush. They try and crush my sister. And
Yeah,
nephew out on these guys.
exactly.
It's terrible.
They kicked my door
Ever
in
since
3
they done
times.
that, I'm like, you guys have nothing to do except
Exactly.
fight.
Except fight. What else do I have left?
Nothing to do. You've come fuck with my family like that. Fuck
I'm
that
fighting.
shit.
And they're not talking about the fire that just happened 2 weeks
Nothing.
ago.
Nothing.
There's no.
Oh yeah.
No
What
mention
happened?
of
Do you
it.
know
The fire-
anything about that?
Nah. Tell us about the stained glass window and like all the
The
little.
stained glass window in the churches, which was put in when the church was built, they're gone. The pews inside of the church,
Yeah.
they're gone.
But what if it
the,
happened to the supposedly like someone vandalized?
Supposedly at the VNC, the wife of the person who bought it
The Penske?
stated, Penske's wife stated that the church had been vandalized. So they gave what was left to the charlatan, Horace Allen.
I think it's important that we work by any means necessary because that's what they've been doing this whole time. They've been doing stuff and getting stuff that they want by any means necessary, right? It's important that we meet them in their level because we've been playing little games that we think, you know, that you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But really, we've been needing to meet them on their level, which is by any means necessary.
Right.
It's kicking people out.
That's right. I love when the youth say that.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And he's a youth that grew up here. He knows. He was loved. Black, white, Japanese. There was never any fear in Venice when he was a kid. You can ask him. Now all of a sudden it's the gang injunction and this and that. That's created to kill our spirit. That's created so we'll leave. They take our kids to jail. They want us to not be there for them. But I'm always be there for mine because the wicked have been there for theirs since they came here on the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria.
That's right. Tell them.
There's a race war.
There's my race war.
Yeah, I know.
We're fighting. We're
We should have
fighting.
packed our food to go.
We're fighting. That VNC needs to be
You want to say anything,
embarrassed.
brother? You want? I got life for you. Want to say anything?
My big
No, I'm just,
thing about that is
I got this information from Lauren Steiner. I'm with Lauren.
Yeah, I know, Lauren.
I know.
Lauren? Yeah, she's intimately involved.
Oh, tell her we need her help. We need all help.
She's got some good ideas, and I was expressing to the gentleman here, I forget his name, is that, you know, this may seem like an insurmountable problem, but it is not.
That's right.
There are so many people in this country, young and old, individuals who have the resources, the wealth, the money to buy up this whole thing, establish it, preserve it
Thank you.
at the drop of a hat.
Thank you.
But see, we somehow shy away from going after people, getting people, individuals interested in this.
We
See,
didn't
that's-
know, sir. We
No,
had
no, no, I'm not, this is not an accusation, just
didn't
across
know.
the board.
Right.
You know, so I think that whoever is heading this effort up needs to consider that as a possible way to approach this thing, because there are so many people with the resources that say, hey, listen, can I purchase this, preserve it, and make it, you know, so that no one could ever
Do this.
absconder this historical landmark for their own selfish use. And I think there's a lot of people around who
I
can
agree.
do that.
Right on. That's
Okay.
good. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Had we known, I'm a property owner. Had we known, we met all us property owners here. Had we known this church was for sale, it was a bunch of us. We would have bought it.
Yeah.
We would have
Did
took
they,
the
did they
equity.
actually sell this
Yeah.
property?
They sold it to Jay Penske.
Forged signatures, right?
Yeah.
They forged signatures of the congregation members and stuff.
And they used the homeless people
How
that
much?
they were feeding to vote on selling the church. So it was
But whose
46.
decision? I understand that that the minister or somebody.
Horace Allen, that's why I keep saying his name. I don't call him a minister, I call him a charlatan.
Charlatan, right? There's plenty of them around.
Thank you.
There's enough of them to go around.
Call him a charlatan.
Yeah, yeah. So if he were not authorized, it didn't outright own this property,
He didn't.
there's no way he could sell it.
Well, that's why I think the broker company, the escrow company, the
lobbyist.
realtor,
Yeah,
the lobbyists they've hired
right.
should be in trouble because they want to come and tell us it was sold legally. I told them I begged to differ.
Yeah.
I know the original families. They did not agree to sell this. Those were the 6 families that said no. You didn't pay attention. The trustee, Herman Clay, said no.
But they listen to.
But they
homeless
listened to
people.
46 homeless people who he, over the interim of a year, baptized and made them members of the church. It was all, it's all ugly. It's all ugly. And it should have never happened. And then, for them to come to what is supposed to be our community representation, no question was asked.
I was
of
so
coming
proud
to
of the
Venice
council at the
neighborhood.
beginning. I remember going to Venice. I was hopeful.
Oh no, it was done legally, and you just believed them.
How much was the sale for the property, or like what did they get in return?
Supposedly, it was $11 million because you see, it's this lot, not lot.
So that one pastor got $11 million. Charlatan.
The charlatan.
Yeah.
So he got $11
We
million.
got to put them on blast.
Yes, I agree.
We got to put them on blast. We got to make this thing go viral and use it as an example of what happens as a result of greed.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I mean, there's enough people, groups and individuals that could stop this in its track, reverse this whole project, and preserve this as a national historical landmark here in California. Because look at all of this history.
Look at all this history.
I know when I was in the military, in the Air Force, I was a recruiter. And Venice was one of my areas. And I would often run into people who said, there used to be a lot of black people in Venice. And I would hear these stories. But, it slowly but surely things kind of dissipated. People moved out and what have you. The community changed. But that doesn't mean that we need to forget about that history. You know what I mean? It's got to be preserved somehow so that future generations can look at this and say,
So
look.
my grandkids can look at it.
Sure.
Like I looked at it.
Yeah, exactly. So, whatever I'm going to get with Lauren and share some ideas with her.
We need all the help.
Who's
Save
the contacts?
Venice.me.
Is that?
That's our website.
SaveVenice.me is the main website. We have most of our
Leave a
correspondence.
message, I'll get the email.
Okay. You
Or
got a
on
card
Facebook,
or
too.
I
anything?
don't.
I do have. I'll give my contact right now.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
A little card.
But we just need to preserve this. My grandfather, Mr. Henry Williams, brought Mr. Holmes out here from Texarkana.
I see. Yeah. Right.
Brought him out here. But he was a
I
pastor.
got it.
And they
That's
needed
my
him.
personal card. My email and all that's on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he
Mike?
brought him out
Yeah.
here.
Okay, Mike.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you.
Jay Young is my
Yeah,
name.
Mike. Pleasure
Nice
to
to
meet you.
meet you, Mr. Young.
Mike.
Okay. What's
How you doing, bro?
Laddie Williams.
Nice to meet you, bro. Uh-huh. Have I met
I'm
you,
going
I
to
met
be
you
in
before?
touch
or-
with Mike. What's your name? Marcos?
Oh.
Political revolution.
I'll be
Bye,
in touch.
bye,
Hold on one second. Hey,
I'll call you.
you want to hold this camera for me and kind of just get some of that dialogue? I'm going to talk to the brother over here real quick.
Okay. So
I think we're almost done.
so one person got 11 million.
Well, he's saying he didn't. Of course.
So who has it? The
That's
church,
what
the entity.
that's what we're trying to find out. That's what we're trying to find out. It's been done so underhandedly, and money has exchanged so many hands. That's how they do it. So then there's not a path to truth. But you got to follow the money. And from where we follow the money, Horace Allen.
Yeah, but you know,
I can't call him a pastor. Horace Allen.
Right.
So this is why we're doing this, and we'll be here every Sunday, bringing truth to power, because this is horrible. Look at it. They've let the property dilapidate. That's another trick they play. Let the property dilapidate.
They use any means necessary.
Any means necessary. Let it dilapidate. This church, as long as I was been here, has never looked like this. All these weeds growing and so unkept, boards over windows. That's so the community can start saying, it's done. Let's get this eyesore out of here. No way. The eyesore stays.
This could be a tourist attraction.
Exactly.
Just like many others, and with the history. And I was just reading some of the placards, about the Klans. I was reading this one up here. No, that one up there with the Klan. It said, well, they was rallying in Inglewood. I live in Inglewood, so I never knew that history about Inglewood. But I'm going to be in touch with Lauren and see what we can do about getting some Facebook and other kinds of information out there so people know what's going on. Because somewhere somebody who can step up and say, wait a minute. Even if they invested in this, for a tax write-off or whatever, it could still be preserved. Preservation is what we need to focus on, preserving this.
Right.
That's not. That's right.
Not making it about a paragraph in a book. A whole book.
It's our physical history. Our history. This is us. See? Yeah, that's just like taking the people themselves and throw them in the ocean.
Right.
If we allow that to happen, we got to stop this kind of greed. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I think we're we're wrapping up over here.
Okay.
What's up, Richard?
I'm supposed to be settled.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah. What's up with that?
Lydia can talk on that. She wrote a beautiful letter about it.
I don't even remember what I said. I just know that.
About the memorial. They want
Yeah, no, they want us to thrive on, what is it, maybe a 9x8 placard bronze piece of metal to say what was here. Well, we got it right now.
Yeah.
You know how it is, Miguel, when you have a mountain where people pray, a lake, a river, an ocean. They privatize it, they sell it, they buy it because they want it for themselves, and it's supposed to be an open public space. The beach closure.
Yeah.
I have one thing to say. Fuck you. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, the idea
There's no beach closure.
of
There's no
people,
placard either.
of people owning property is a misnomer. You go back to the ancient people, they used the land, they lived on it, they did different things, they hunted, they fished, they do whatever. But as far as fencing it in for ownership, that was way off the chart. People, that wasn't a part of the belief system or the ancient values to own something for yourself. So even though we know we've moved down that road, there are certain things that put you so far over the line until you are actually destroying yourself. See, when this goes, that's part of us. It's gone. That history is lost. That whole spiritual involvement, that's gone. See? Yeah. And your name is Lydia?
Yeah.
Do you know a lady named Deborah?
Public accommodation.
Booker?
You know I won't remember that. Can you email
Yeah.
Hi. You'll post this on.
I know your name, yeah.
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 Why, y'all?
Yeah.
Don't you? I
Hello,
love
Smart.
Mike.
Mwah.
I love Mike.
So,
Yeah.
But that's what makes Venice great.
Yeah.
But that's what we all have to do now.
I know.
Because if we all don't agree on all things, we have to agree on one thing, and that is we have to save Venice.
Yeah.
I mean, we just have to figure this out, how we can all find some common ground on what that means.
Yeah.
But if we don't live here anymore, it's...
Yeah. We'll fight on the internet forever. Nah.
Yeah,
across
I
the
find-
county.
It's up to them. Eventually, they'll just have a plaque, all of Venice. People used to, live here or something like that. It won't just be for the church; it'll be for everybody. It'll be like people of color used to live here. Working class people used to live here.
For sure. All right, I'm gonna close this up over here. Get a little corner. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in over here. Again, we're on 7th and Westminster, across from Oakwood Park, and you know, we're amplifying efforts to preserve the space here. Like I said, a lot of times people think things are a lost cause or money wins, but you know, people power wins over money. It's all about energy. If people say you need money to win, that if you think of money as energy, which it is, and then, you know, people have energy too. People have love energy. People have, you know, look at this, you know, this physical energy over here. There's a lot of, you know, emotion create. There's a lot more energy we can create to combat that, you know, that saying too. And at the same time too, it's like a lot of these people saying, you know, money talks, bullshit walks, or whatever. Like I said, it's true to an extent too, but at the same time, you can't always underestimate your power to change things, to get in the way of things that seem unstoppable. There's always a remedy to everything, you know. So I want people to remember that out there, you know, especially on Facebook. A lot of social media people are very like disheartened, you know, because a lot of times they don't know what to do, and it's hard, you know what I mean? There's a lot of legalese, like convoluted legal talk and shenanigans and avenues to go through, you know what I mean? It's really and it's made that way, you know, to be convoluted so people don't really engage, especially particular people. But right now we have a good spark going over here, and again, this is a 108-year-old church. There's a 108-year-old church right here. I mean, the building itself is probably like about, I want to say about 60 or 70 maybe. But the space, the community space that represents over there too. This is all, you'll see stuff on SaveVenice.me or Save Venice, Save Venice Facebook page on there too. We also got Twitter, but Facebook and the website are the main things. And let's see what else. Yeah, you know, we're gonna, you know, we plan some stuff and some more actions, and we're getting more organized. You know what I mean? Because there's so much going on over here. A lot of times you get spread thin, and there's so many fires to put out, and you know, but for the most part, they're all coming from the same direction. You know, a lot of these gentrifiers and a lot of this like just mentality that a lot of them have, most of them have. You know, and then this new VNC who doesn't represent the people. You know, minus they're all pretty much white gentrifiers. You know, a couple good people on there, but those two are kind of like very, I say they're overburdened by dealing with the rest of the locust or whatever. But where we plan some actions, but stay tuned on SaveVenice.me or my Facebook page, or on the Save Venice Facebook page or the website. Let's see any questions going on. I don't see any questions here, but yeah, you know, we're gonna start ultimately we're gonna be having, you know, putting pictures and more information of what you can do to help. And I said any little thing helps, whether you can email people or share things, or you know, get a physical presence, or if you have a musical skills or whatever. We're gonna be organizing and really pushing this effort really hard. And you know, fuck all these fools that try to say that we're starting the race war and that we're dividing the community. Fuck you. You motherfuckers are the ones dividing this shit up. You're making us, you're forcing us to fucking, you know, take a stand. You know, so, you know, it's Sunday out here. It's about noon or so, or 12:30 or what time it is. But hope everybody out there has a beautiful day. And just, you know, stay tuned on our website, SaveVenice.me. We're gonna be, you know, organizing some stuff, and this is a very good moment for us to, you know, rekindle our relationships with our people in our community, and to really stand up for, you know, for the true Venice spirit, you know, and, you know, put light on all these, you know, the deceivers and the shenanigans that go on, you know. That's all I gotta say. Thank everybody for tuning in, and share this video. #Venice, Save Venice. Yeah, that's about it. Love you all, and talk to you guys later. Peace.